Hello and welcome to a special emergency episode of the Romantic Podcast. It is an absolute emergency. I'm Allie, and as always, I am joined by my lovely co-host, Nicole. How are you doing today, Nicole?
I'm good. But it's been a traumatic week. It has been a really tough week here in the Bookstagram world, Sarah J Maas world, and hence we had to bring you guys this emergency episode because things went down. Things went down this week. Or well, we should say things didn't go down this week.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about it.
Yeah. So today we're going to be debriefing this week. What happened with the 10th anniversary of ACOTAR. We're going to talk about some of the lead up. We're going to talk about what could have happened, some theories, some things that we're hearing on Bookstagram and Book Talk. As you know, Nicole and I are very connected. We have lots of, not only do we have lots of followers who message us, but we have lots of just friends generally in the Book Talk and Bookstagram world. So we're just kind of bringing you today some of the chatter that's been happening about what could be going on. But yeah, why don't we, you know what I will say before we get started?
Yep.
This episode, I don't anticipate us to have spoilers, but I think it's probably just good to call out that who knows what rabbit holes we're going to go down. We're talking SJM, so you probably need to have read the entire Mass first in order to listen to this episode.
Probably smart. I don't anticipate we'll be going into the stories themselves, but I guess there may be talk about what we're predicting for ACOTAR 5, and which means you really need to have at least read ACOTAR and Crescent Cities, and then really, why would you not have read Throne of Glass as well? If you haven't, you need to get off here right now and go read that series and come back to us, because that is like priority one reading.
Yeah. Why are you listening to a podcast when you still have SJM to read?
Exactly. Stop being fun. You need to go and read.
Yeah. Get an podcast. Okay, so I think before we talk about May 5th, let's talk a little bit about the lead up, because some of our listeners may not totally understand all the things that led to the disappointment of the Bookstagram Book Talk community. Yeah. So, Nicole, what are some of the things that you know that Bloomsbury did? Well, it's been going on for like months is the crazy thing.
Well, I think for starters, let's just look at a bit of Sarah J Maas history. And I guess like I'm going to take you back to the beginning, right? So it's the 10-year, let's start right back in 2015. 3 children. Sarah J Maas gave us her first baby. She gave us Throne of Glass. So 2015 was the delivery of ACOTAR. And obviously 2025, we're reaching the 10-year anniversary. A lot of people on Bookstagram have been extremely excited about this series and what it was going to mean. Now, Sarah J Maas has, I guess, in the last 12 months been less active online. The last time we saw her speak to us was the Spotify that she was the, what was it? Like the playlist of the year. Like she was the most listened to audiobook of the year. And she spilt the tea with us then and said that she had written this. It was sort of in its draft phase. It's very long, and that she would have an update for us soon. It was a very short and sweet message, but that was the last time we've heard from Sarah. Since then, we have heard absolutely nothing out of Sarah J Maas. We've been theorizing on different dates that we thought we might be getting. We've all been anticipating approximately a 2-year gap, because that's now what she tends to do with her book series. Back when she was writing ACOTAR and the other books, she was generally pumping a book out every year. God, that was a good time. That would have been a really nice time to have been a reader. But now we're having to wait longer for those books. Obviously, with Crescent City 3 coming out January last year, we're now looking at, you'd be expecting a drop of like a release date anytime now. So many of us had put together, well, it's probably going to happen on the 10-year ACOTAR anniversary. That makes sense. It makes sense that she would probably save it, because that's a really special date and a date you want to celebrate. But then everything unfolded from there. Allie, what are your thoughts on some of the history?
So I will say most sort of like anniversaries, SJM has done some kind of post in the past. Again, like the general vibe is that she used to be pretty active on social media. She's been getting less and less. And then the last like year, it's just been like total crickets from her. Nothing coming out. No, and there's lots of reasons that could be. The thing that I think from a 10-year anniversary perspective that kind of is interesting to me. I actually feel like the internet and Bookstagram and Book Talk would not have been so hyped for a 10-year anniversary if Bloomsbury hadn't hyped them. Like, I think Bloomsbury intentionally hyped us up because the Throne of Glass 10-year anniversary came and went a couple years ago, I think. Sarah J Maas did not post on that one either. I think it's important to call out that she did not post anything on the 10-year anniversary of Throne of Glass. That being said, Bloomsbury didn't make it a thing. It kind of came and went. Of course, people celebrated it, but in their own way. But Bloomsbury for the past several months have been hyping this up. They have been talking about how this 10-year anniversary was coming. They made sure everyone knew that it was on May 5th. They did, for a month, they did a bracket of ACOTAR 10, like what's your favorite,
which is still to be completed as of today when we're recording. It's only nearly finished.
That's weird to me, by the way. I find that strange that you're going to like hype up the 10-year anniversary and then you don't complete the bracket on the 10-year anniversary. Like, I don't understand. They sent out these ginormous ACOTAR books secretly, right? They just like secretly shipped them out to bookstores. There's people on the internet saying the bookstores didn't even know they were coming. They just kind of showed up. And of course they created this 10-year anniversary special edition, the Night Court edition. The books are all black. I have various opinions on them.
I don't like them.
I don't like them.
There is nothing special. They do not look impressive. They would not look good on my wall. I don't need them. They actually just feel like a money grab.
Are it. Actually, I don't think all black books are pretty. Like, maybe if they did some really cool silver or gold foiling, you know what I mean? Like, but sorry, my Alexa is talking to me. It kind of threw me up for a second. Anyway, I don't think they're very attractive. They're not something I would want to display. I actually like a colorful bookshelf. I don't want them to be all black. And there's no foiling and there's no anything.
They're not even hardback. I'm sorry, but they're not even hardback. Like,
I know.
I just, as soon as it's not a hardback, I'm not really interested anymore. Once upon a time, I didn't mind, but now I am an absolute snob when it comes to the books that I buy. I want only beautiful books. Like, I want hardbacks, I want special editions, I want foiled edges. Otherwise, I'm not spending my money on it.
You're going to try and do, you're going to make it like the Night Court edition and you're going to make it all black. You would pop a black sprayed edge on there, like really go for it. Like, go all in for the Night Court edition. But no.
Let's also be honest. Most of us have copies of ACOTAR, like the whole series. Oh, and the only reason we're going to go out and buy a whole new set is because of a beautiful set. Because you're like, wow, that is so stunning. That would look amazing on my wall. I need to own that. Do not feel that way about this special edition. But anyway.
And in fact, sorry, this is a tangent side note. Classic. I actually I was in Spain earlier this year and I saw these beautiful all black versions of ACOTAR in Spanish. But what was so cool was when you opened up the inside cover, the color, that bright neon color was on the inside of it. And then there was artwork and that was cool. And that like the color, like it was foiled, the title was foiled. So those were, honestly, I wanted to bring them last
year. The European editions are stunning. I nearly purchased a Crescent City just because it was so insanely beautiful. The artwork, even the story the art potentially brings across, like it was suggesting certain theories and different things just based on the art that was in these books. It was absolutely stunning. I do not understand why we cannot have those copies here. Why do Europe get such special editions? Like, I don't know. I don't understand.
Again, it's like, you would think if Bloomsbury's going to do this like special edition, they've already put together a very, very cool Night Court edition. They've already put together an all black version with foiling and it had the like neon on the inside, which was super awesome. Like, just reproduce that, like I would have gone and probably bought those, but the ones that they put out were not it. But in addition to that, they did this bracket, they did tons of, reels, they were reposting tons of ACOTAR content, really like counting down to May 5th. They send these books out, they're open to the Calendar My page, which is May 1st.
Yes.
close enough to May. So I think it is reasonable. I really do. I've actually spent a lot of time thinking about this week. I think it's really reasonable that people had an expectation that something
Something
was
special
coming.
was coming.
Yeah. I think, like, of course there's been lots of like chatter of people being like, oh my gosh, why are you being so like entitled, people of Bookstagram? And I think it was really reasonable to have that expectation that something was
Absolutely.
coming.
And look, let's be clear for a minute. If we weren't excited about these books, Bookstagram would not exist. We're not here to go, oh, let's not be excited about possible upcoming books. This is the whole reason we are on Bookstagram. We want to come together. We want to celebrate the books we love. And a lot of us love to theorize when we might be getting the next ones. We don't want to put unnecessary pressure on authors. Of course not. We understand that this is a process and it takes time to create these magnificent books. But we do want to get excited. And when we are used to authors like Rebecca Yarros and that, who really understand the whole laying Easter egg kind of process, and they do that for us, we obviously are also looking for that from Sarah J Maas and other authors, and we're getting really excited. And it's insanely disappointing to have all that laid out for you, to make it appear like something's coming and then have nothing delivered. Like, we had so many theories. We were looking at the color of that bracket and we were like, maybe this next book is going to be yellow, the color of the bracket. We were looking at, there was obviously those ginormous books that came out. There was a message signed by Sarah in one of those books, which we are going to get to lately, because that is a whole theory right there about what that quote was and why it might actually be important about something that's actually non-book related. And then, as you say, there was so much hype, so much build up, the massive, like, castle they basically created in a bookstore, like, to actually build the Night Court.
Yeah, I know.
Which didn't even match these Night Court editions that were released. So we were like, well, is something else coming?
Right. And this bookstore is just getting ahead of it because this installation is so big that they wouldn't be able to put it up over a night before an announcement or something.
Yeah.
And I will say, Sarah herself in the past has participated in this Easter egg laying. It's not just that, oh, Rebecca Yarros and other authors are kind of doing this now. Sarah was kind of the first one to do that. She has done Easter eggs in the past. She has engaged with her fans in that way. She has left clues, she's left snippets. So it felt reasonable that Bloomsbury was kind of doing that on her behalf to get us hyped for something. And I don't actually like, so everyone thought, right, that I think the most predominant theory was that we were going to get the announcement of the release date of the next book of ACOTAR 5. I think that's everyone was thinking that. Some people were thinking, myself included, I posted a video about this, maybe we're actually going to get a surprise drop. I don't think I've ever actually believed in my heart.
How the mighty have fallen.
I know.
Expectation, reality.
Right. At the very least, we thought, okay, maybe we're going to get some really cool, maybe a behind the scenes video of something. Maybe they're going to announce information about the TV show. Maybe, maybe they would just make a really cool reel.
Yeah.
So everyone is hyped for at least a month.
I was expecting a message from Sarah. I felt like at the least she would jump on and say, hey fans, thank you so much for your support over the last 10 years. I thought that would just be expected. If I was an author, I feel like I would be trying to make an effort to just reach out to my fans, just because they're so valuable, and just wanting to say thank you so much for your support over the last 10 years. Even if it's just a 20-second, like this for 20 seconds, that was all it needed to be. Absolutely nothing about the book. I thought that was a bare minimum.
Especially because Bloomsbury has hyped up this 10-year anniversary, right? It's one thing to let it come and go and not post about it in a world where nobody's really paying attention. But when all eyes, let's be real, all eyes of the Bookstagram community are on this 10-year anniversary, that's, that increases the pressure for you as an author to say something, I think.
Yeah.
So we all get hyped. We're hyped for a month. We're ready. Nicole even considers staying up all night long so she can get the. So she's
it always drops at 3 a.m. Like literally, it always drops at 3 a.m. I should literally. I don't know which one we should start with first, but we should go through what my night looked like the night of the 5th to the 6th of May.
Why don't you tell us now? That's where we are in the chronology.
So I'm there going, am I going to do an all-nighter? I've stayed up till, I think it was like 10 to 12, reading my Gods and Monsters. I'm reading Gods and Monsters at the moment. Great book. Love it. So good. Anyway, it's like 11:50 and I'm actually feeling pretty tired. And I'm like, you know what? It's like, I'm going to like, whenever I wake up, I'm going to check my phone and see what's happened. I've done my hair. I literally sat there and I hadn't done my hair and I was like, do I put my hair in rollers and then have it nice, or do I not? Because that increases the chance that there's actually going to be a release, because my hair looks terrible. It'd be a terrible time to post, but I still had to do my hair. Anyway, I couldn't do it. Anyway, so went to sleep. Literally at 12 is when that dropped, right? The montage that we got, which we won't talk about. You can deliver that.
In a minute.
Yeah. But anyway, so I think I woke up at about 3 a.m. and I saw that, but I was like, obviously a million people have already shared it. I'm like, there's no point. I'm like, Sarah hasn't posted anything yet. Sarah's still quiet. I'm like, okay, maybe it's going to be 4 a.m. Let's go back to sleep, wake up, it's 5 a.m. She still hasn't posted. I'm like, sometimes doesn't drop till 6 a.m. So it's probably 6 a.m. So then I think I've woken up at 6.
Setting alarms for all these times?
No, I was just waking up. I was so hyped up that I was like waking up and then just like checking, to the point that when I woke up around the 6 a.m. point, I actually dreamt that we got a release. I dreamt that it was purple. I dreamt it was about Azrael and it was called like A Court of Bat Wings or something. And I dreamt we got a full trailer of it, like a filmed trailer. God. And it was it was going into his backstory of Azrael as a kid and stuff. And I was crying in my dream. I was like, oh my God, this is more than I could have ever expected. And then I woke up and we had nothing.
Okay, here's how delusional I was, okay? Because my job has been very busy lately. And I was so worried that a book was going to come out, or a novella. Maybe, like, I thought, okay, maybe she'll surprise drop a novella. Maybe she'll give us a novella in an ebook format or something. Because I'm thinking Bloomsbury is really hyping this. They want to sell something on this day. So I'm feeling like it's something to buy. Maybe it's custom merch. But I'm so worried that it's going to be a book that I blocked my calendar off that whole day, because I was like, okay, well, if she drops a book, I gotta read it. I can't be like missing out because I'm like sitting in meetings at work. So I blocked my calendar that day.
Yeah.
And then it was actually great because then I got a lot of work done, but I was like sad. You know what I mean? Like the whole day.
You're being frustrated typing. Like, I hate the world. Yeah.
I don't want to be working. I want to be reading an ACOTAR book. So the day comes and goes. Bloomsbury posts something.
Do we get something? The worst montage video of all time.
The absolute worst montage video, like, ever. Like, clearly created by interns with no marketing oversight. Like, I could have done better with my Canva. Like, it was bad. It was so bad. It's like the sound was, it just did not make any sense to me.
It hurt your ears.
Cool. Like, the concept of like taking fans and kind of laying them, to kind of show the impact of this phenomenon is cool. But like, pick clips where just people are talking so that it's not like 7 different songs playing at the same time over each other. It was like discordant. It hurt my ears. I thought I had accidentally somehow my phone was playing my Spotify and
at the same time. Yeah, you were like, wait, multiple things are playing at once.
Yeah, I literally went and was like, wait, what? It was so confusing. Terrible video. And then the rest of the day, they're just resharing stories. Yeah,
like, you've built up to this whole day. You would have thought, and this is again probably Rebecca Yarros and all the build up we've had with her. Like, for example, when we go back to the Onyx Storm release, like, first we got like dropped about everything. We had Michael Eoch giving us like, tune in next week to blah blah blah, like,
telling us quotes from Taryn, right? Like, reading quotes over a reel to make it hyped. Like, at least, like, I have my frustrations with Red Tower, but at least they know how to like do a hype video.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And they would like, and when you normally get a drop, when you'd either get a date or the cover or whatever it was going to be, we'd normally get about 3 posts. You get 3. You would get like 1, then 2, then 3. And you know, trailers, everything, like it's so cute. And it absolutely sent us into a frenzy. We'd be so excited. If you want to ask me what the gold standard is for Easter egg dropping and revealing things, I think they've definitely probably are the best to date. So I think it was reasonable to expect, with all this hype in the lead up to the 5th of May, we're expecting at least a few videos and things on the 5th of May, even if it wasn't Sarah herself, just promoting different things from Bloomsbury. I mean, they literally cleared their calendar. Like in the days leading up to, they emptied their stories. They were preparing for this, to release this video. And then it was just this one little 20-second awful montage video, and that was it.
And then the rest of the day they're reposting stories of people. And I cannot get over, they didn't even have, not only did the bracket that they'd been doing for a month not culminate on that day, they didn't even do a bracket voting on that day. Like, what? It just, I don't understand. It's so weird. You're promoting the 10th anniversary and then you just kind of like, they're basically letting it go out with a whimper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It
Instead
wasn't
of
a
going
bang.
out
It
with
was.
it, like, it's just gonna like trail off.
I don't know who planned that and who thought that was going to be successful. But as you basically say, it feels like an idea of an intern, that the intern has gone, oh my gosh, this will be like super fun. We'll do the bracket. We'll do this. We'll do that. Then we'll release a video on the day, and then we'll just, all the fans that, like, honestly, some fans made these beautiful 5-tier cakes and all sorts of things. Like, some of the effort the fans went to celebrate this day, compared to Bloomsbury, compared to Sarah, just exceptional.
Get your own cake and post a video of your own freaking cake. I mean, like, come on. You can drop $1,000 on a really cool cake and then have the interns that have been in all these videos eating the cake. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm like spitballing ideas here, and they're better than the ideas that Bloomsbury came up with. Okay?
It's just a bit more. It was like they had all this planning for the lead up. They did it all in the lead up and nothing on the day. Anyway, so that's our frustration with that. We got to the 5th of May. It was very, basically no one was really very satisfied with the day. We really didn't get anything on the day. It went down like a lead balloon. It was very disappointing. Very disappointing. We shared about that.
Yeah.
But we now want to talk about, I guess, some of our theories around why Sarah didn't actually make contact with her fans on the day.
No
because
contact, no post.
We actually have
sharing stories, nothing. Yeah.
Because
sorry, go ahead.
I think a bit of what happened actually outlined some possible concerns and a lack of collaboration between Bloomsbury and Sarah. Now, obviously, this is all hearsay. This is all theorizing. We do not have any official information. We are just simply going off Instagram and putting jigsaw pieces together. It may have no relevance whatsoever, but we're just going to theorize today as what we think may possibly be occurring, because there are a few things that seem not quite right in this circumstance, and we have to kind of wonder about the current relationship between Bloomsbury and Sarah J Maas. But what are your initial takes and thoughts?
The first thing that I noticed is that Sarah is not collabed in to the celebration video, which I think is interesting, because if you go to Sarah's Instagram, like the last 3 or 4, maybe more posts that even are on her Instagram are collabs with Bloomsbury.
Yeah.
So interesting to me that they don't even collab the author in to like celebrate her books and her 10-year anniversary. You know what I mean? Like, I found that, like, to me, that was the first sign that something was off. She doesn't post anything. No. We get one thing from Sarah. She shows up randomly to one of those giant books in the US and she signs it. And she puts a quote. And I think the quote is from ACOTAR.
Yes. I think it's Feyre. I think it's Feyre's quote. Yeah. And she says, do you know what it is? I was a wolf and I bit when cornered. And she's underlined was and then signed it, Sarah J Maas.
Yes. which is just really interesting, you know. And of course, she does that a couple days before the kind of 10-year anniversary. So there's tons of speculation that, okay, cool, this is going to be a spring court, you know, because like Wolf, Tamlin, spring court.
I got super excited. I shared. I was like, oh my God, is that Tamlin? Some people are like Wolf, what Bryce has been said to be a wolf. Obviously, there's Feyre. We're all just excited that it might have something to do with that. So while we thought we were getting a drop, we thought it would have something to do with the next book.
Yeah, the Elaine Tamlin shippers are going crazy, you know, because everyone thinks this is just yet another little Easter egg leading up to it. But that's it. That's all we get from her.
Yeah. But
what do you think that could be, Nicole?
Well, I think it's interesting because I think she obviously doesn't post anything else apart from this. And oh God, sorry, I've just got to think for a second because what did I sorry, I've got to pause for a second. I can hear my son in the background. My son's sick today. Oh, hang on. Oh, that's all right. I'll just cut it. Why is it not letting me pause anything? There we go.
So yeah, that's the only real thing we get from SJM in the lead up and on the 10-year anniversary is that quote.
Yeah. And I think it was, so as I said, initially when I saw it, I kind of thought that it was maybe around the ACOTAR 5. It was maybe a theory around Tamlin or Azriel and Elaine, whatever it might be. But then after this event, after Sarah had no engagement whatsoever on the 10-year anniversary, which seemed pretty strange, I started to wonder if there were issues between Bloomsbury and Sarah. And then someone who I speak to actually alerted me that there could actually be a bit more going on than meets the eye, and actually pointed out that particular quote, and that this was actually Bloomsbury were not aware that this was actually that she was going to do that. That was not part of that. Basically, one of her sort of friends who has a bookstagram actually went and recorded that, and that was how it went online. It was liked by her husband, liked by her friends on bookstagram, and actually made us wonder if it's actually got a lot of context, not so much around the book but around Sarah herself. When you look at the quote, it's a very strange quote, like it's "I was a wolf and I bit when cornered." Now, is that suggesting that Sarah has been cornered in some way and she's now going through something from a legal perspective or something? Is there a possibility that she isn't talking right now very intentionally because she's actually got a potential legal battle going on? And I guess we would theorize that that might be with Bloomsbury.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that when celebrities of this kind of stature are in legal things, this is what happens. This is what we see, is they go completely silent. Because it's the only way to ensure that nothing gets out, that they don't jeopardize their intellectual property case, they don't jeopardize whatever, you know, kind of lawsuits going on. So, you know, we're not saying that that's necessarily, we know that's what's happening. It's just a theory because the signs kind of point to that. That, you know, I mean, she's not collabed in with them, so they're not really like engaging her with that. She's not posting anything, and she's going and signing one of their marketing materials without them knowing that it's happening. Even if there's not a lawsuit, it seems like there might be some tensions.
Well, yeah. Well, and it's sort of an unusual quote to make. Like, you would think if she was just promoting General ACOTAR, she would have done "There you are," you know, the most famous line in the book. That would obviously make sense. It's a sort of unusual line to deliver. But of course,
one that I didn't even remember that it was in the book. You know what I mean? It's not like a well-known line. So like there was like when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, is that like a quote from the next book? You know, and then I realized like, oh no, that's from ACOTAR. But yeah, it's very specific and intentional.
Yeah.
And you know what else is strange to me is when CC3 came out, she clearly did this like relaunch of her personal brand.
Yeah.
You know, like she comes out, she's wearing designer clothes. She's, you know, talking about, you know, getting styled. She's showing some of this behind the scenes stuff, the kinds of things she's never really done in the past.
No.
And upon, reflection, what she's really doing, again, is branding herself as opposed to the books or the writer. She does all these sit down pieces where she's talking about her writing process, she talks about motherhood in some of those interviews. Like, I see that as a very intentional PR stunt to launch a personal brand, and then to do that and then go totally silent again is just strange to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think I heard, I can't remember if it was you or someone else that said that around that time she hired a social media marketer, like someone to actually manage her
oh,
social
I did
media.
not know
And then it
that.
was only a few months later that relationship dissolved. Someone that is just hearsay. I don't know that officially, but that's what I heard. And that would somewhat make sense to me in the fact that I know in those few months after Crescent City 3, we did have a bit of engagement from Sarah. I miss the old days of Sarah. We used to get so much engagement from her. I love
Yeah.
that she had so many friends that she jumped on their podcast. I miss catching up with Sarah and Josh. Like, we used to just,
Yeah,
they're
I
like
know.
your friends that don't know you. You're like, oh, you're my friend. You don't know I'm your friend, but I'm your friend. I used to love that every time a book would come around, I would get the chance to listen in for an hour and a half. And that's probably where my love of podcast started, because I was able to listen in to Sarah, and just a lot of it would just be about nothing, but you get little snippets of the books here and there, which was super,
Mhm.
super exciting. And of course, yeah, obviously after CC3, obviously she'd gone into the superstardom and she was going on really big interviews, which were great, but not as good because you didn't get the real authentic kind of conversation you would get previously. But we certainly got a few around that time. And then she was posting quite actively after that, in that, the first day of spring, she had a whole spring court thing and she had all these cute little videos that she got from different fans, little things like that. But then all that just came. So I started thinking we were going to get that for every season, but then it all just stopped. We kind of just, it all just sort of stopped not long after, and then we've barely had anything. And most of the things that have come out have been fairly formal, with the exception of her maybe going to a Taylor Swift concert and things like that. It's like, when I look at the caption on like her most recent, the release of the Night Court editions, for example, I don't feel like Sarah wrote that. I feel like it
No,
looks more like that was written by Bloomsbury and she's just been collabed in, for example.
and it was a collab post.
Yeah.
The CC3 paperback post, which CC3 is coming, the paperbacks for CC3 are coming out in June. That's a collab post. The Night Court edition is a collab post. And then there's like 2 or 3 others, like all of her recent stuff. I think her last like personal post was going to a Taylor Swift concert. And then before that, it was when she was like going up north to write. And I think that was in like May of last year even. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been a really long time since we've gotten anything. Um, and again, it's not, we're not saying that it's unusual or that she owes us responding to us or putting anything out there. She absolutely doesn't. And, there are alternative explanations. We know that she's, had 2 kids and she's now a mother, and that
I
takes
was gonna
priority.
say we can give like the other 5 perfectly reasonable reasons that Sarah
Yeah.
has not posted. There is like many other, like, she could just be on an island literally writing right now. Like, her current process might be, I need to finish off this book, therefore I'm on an island with no cell phone reception and I am finishing off this book. Like, she might be MIA right now. We just don't know about it.
We just don't know. Yeah. Or, the day came and her kids had a school thing and it just, it just went past her. I mean, that's fine. We definitely don't, we're not saying that she owes us anything. I think it would have been nice to have a thank you post from her. I think it's easy to hire a social media coordinator to do that kind of stuff for you so that you engage your fans even while you yourself are disconnected. And I would have loved something like that from her. But again, it just, the silence, the just stark change really quickly, launching such a personality in January of last year and then going silent, it just, to me, it's something smells off.
Mm.
That's what
Well,
I would say.
yeah, I have 3 children myself, and it's not always easy to do things, but I manage to get on pretty often and jump myself into a spare room, close the door, and do a quick 2-minute video. So surely if I can do it, Sarah can do it. But of course, it does add a whole other layer of challenge. And fair enough, she has toddlers. Like, definitely life gets pretty challenging when you've got little kids. When they get older, you tend to get a bit of independence again. So I've often said that if Sarah is going through a bit of a rut right now where she's having, any challenges actually writing, which can be very common when you do have young children, it really does pass once they get to school age. You often get that time back into your calendar, into your weeks, into your life, and hopefully you're able to re-explore. I hope a lot of people are really scared, has she lost her spark? Where she was obviously so passionate about writing 10 years ago. Like, literally, I think I saw someone posting about how they had the arc of ACOTAR and Mist and Fury was already finished. Like, can you imagine, that like you had one and then the next one so quickly afterwards? Obviously, she's just not writing that quickly anymore. And she has spoken about that and said at the time she really didn't have a life. She was just purely writing. So I completely understand and support that she needs to have a life and that. But
and that kind of production of books is just totally not sustainable. And that's totally fine.
But I think we've seen with Rebecca Yarros, though, that you can talk to us about that. You can talk to your audience and say, I need to have a break. I've been pushing myself really hard. And we are actually so supportive. Everyone will get behind you and say, yes, we want the next book, but we also know that you need to have time in your life and you need to have a break. And if it means we're waiting longer, that is completely okay. When you keep us updated and along that journey. I've also heard a lot of people talking about Diana Gabaldon and the Outlander series, that on average those books are every 5 years, which is a huge wait. But they've said that she's really good at keeping her fans updated on where she's at, how the process is going. So even though there's this really long gap between books, they're kept updated. And that's, I think, where I definitely saw a lot of frustration from fans on the 5th. And I saw a lot of people actually starting to say that they're giving up a bit on this series, which is really concerning, not just for these fans, but actually for Bookstagram in general. Because the reality we have is, as much as I wish it wasn't the case, Bookstagram and Romantasy is really dependent on Sarah J Maas and Rebecca Yarros at this point in time. We've got some other fantastic authors that I've often said they're so close, but they're still just the next tier down. We've got Callie Hart, Raven Kennedy, we've got Penn Cole, we've got some really great ones, just that next one down, but they're just not quite at that super fandom that you get with the Sarah J Maas and Rebecca Yarros. And if we have too much gap, if we have too much, delay between one and the next, we've had this with like HBO TV series and stuff, you start to just get distracted and you move on. And I do worry that if we don't get an update soon, people are just going to start to move on from Romantasy. Do you think that's a valid thing to be concerned about?
I do, because I think there's a lot of new readers in the genre right now because of Sarah J Maas and Rebecca Yarros. I think either they read ACOTAR first and then fell in love with the series, or they read, Fourth Wing and then discovered ACOTAR. I think there's actually a lot of people whose journeys start with Fourth Wing and then go to ACOTAR before expanding beyond that, which is crazy for us who read ACOTAR, years and years before Fourth Wing came out. But I think that there is a risk that, there's a cool off period for the genre for sure. I don't know that it's going to just completely tank the genre, but I do think it will be harder to get that same kind of like millions and millions of people are reading the same book at the same time, which is just a fun experience, right? We all love that. We love, that like the month that the book comes out, everyone we know is reading it. And, very few authors kind of get that.
No. We've really only seen it, I would say, in the last kind of 20 odd years or whatever. I remember we had it with Harry Potter, and then we had it with Twilight, and then maybe 50 Shades of Grey, but that was really not that good.
But what happened with 50 Shades of Grey? Everyone was reading that. Yeah. And then we've been so spoiled because we've had Sarah J Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus some of the other kind of like great writers, that you mentioned. And so now for there to be an indefinite, we have no idea when the next Fourth Wing book is coming out. We have no idea when anything else is coming from Sarah J Maas. It definitely makes it lose some steam. There is one more thing that I have heard in some of the chatter, that either in comments and in some of the groups I'm in, which is, CC3 had mixed reviews. It was received very differently. There were some people who loved it, and there were some people who did not love it as much.
Yeah,
And
not many people
we
loved it.
also know what.
Well, I don't think many people liked it. I don't think there's many people out there that are like, oh, it was a great book.
It's a great book, yeah. And we also know that Rebecca Yarros completely rewrote it. That there was a draft, and she rewrote the entire thing, and I think she said she rewrote the entire thing in like 12 weeks, that's a long book to rewrite in 12 weeks. And she herself, it's insane. Yeah, she spinned it as, oh, it wasn't it. But we also had interviews with her prior to the rewrite where she was talking about it, and she seemed really excited. There is that interview with her two book friends where she's talking about it, and she's so excited, and she's like, yes, Nyx is in there. Like, she's saying all these characters. And so there's speculation that Bloomsbury made her rewrite it. They didn't like the path it was going, the direction it was taking. Bloomsbury made her rewrite it. And so that could probably frustrate her and even burn her out if she had to rewrite this book in 12 weeks. And then for it to be received so negatively, I could see how that could push a wedge between her and her publisher. If you wrote something, you loved it, they made you change it, and then what you wrote for them didn't do well, I would be pretty mad if that were me. Yeah. I would think my publisher, I wouldn't want to be dictated by them again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess the rebuttal would be that surely Bloomsbury, like, Sarah has got to be their biggest name currently. I mean, even Harry Potter, yes, it's massive, but it's not massive right this moment. It's just been massive forever. I don't think people are always necessarily out there buying Harry Potter every other week. But like right now, she's the biggest author. So you would think that they would be doing everything in their power to make her happy, and they would be like, whatever you want, we're going to give it to you. You would think that's the way it's going to be. But then I think the only comparison I have is hearing Rebecca Yarros recently in an interview and her talking about Onyx Storm, and that she had to have some pretty strong discussions with her editor and the team because they wanted her to change certain parts. But she said she won every argument that she had about that she wanted to include the Rhiannon scene, she wanted to include the Imogen scene, so she got everything that she wanted, even if they had concerns. So it would be surprising to me if Sarah had made such a huge change based on Bloomsbury. But yes, definitely that would potentially lead to a lot of challenges there.
But I mean, let's also call out Red Tower is much smaller than Bloomsbury.
Yes.
And Rebecca made them, right? She launched that imprint through Entangled Publishing. She was their lead book, the first book to launch Red Tower. And Red Tower would not be what it is if Fourth Wing had not been so successful.
Correct.
It would have been a little baby imprint. And, so she has a little bit more negotiating power, potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas
go with Bloomsbury, who is, literally you can buy shares in Bloomsbury. Like, that is how big it is. It's a monster. Look, we have no idea what is going on behind closed doors when it comes to what's happening with Bloomsbury, what's happening with Sarah, what are the challenges. As I've even said, we haven't even touched on the fact that there could be mental health challenges, which are very serious as well. And we always need to consider that you do always need to put that first. So there always could be aspects like that going on as well. And I know in the past, Rebecca has spoken about some of her challenges with writer's block and that after having her son. So there's always a possibility that there have been challenges now as well. So, we always want the best for Sarah. I guess our biggest concern, though, is just that if there are any legal or challenges or barriers there, or even just, a bit of a breakdown in the relationship between Bloomsbury and Sarah, it might not be anything legal. It might just be like, I got really angry at the editor because they made me do this and now I don't want to talk to you guys, and, whatever it might be. It could just mean additional delays to a story that we're obviously so desperate to get our hands on, which would be really, really hard for us fans to have to wait even longer. And not only that, but also not getting an update. Having the radio silence is really, really hard. I wouldn't have minded if she'd come on and said it's still a year away, but it's going to be the 5th of May next year. I would have said, okay, it's a long time, but at least I know. At least I know how long it's going to be.
If she had said it will be the 5th of May in 2028, I would have been
hurting, but I would have been like, okay, that's fine. Okay, it's a long time, but okay.
It will come when it comes, you know.
Absolutely.
It just seems odd that there's just nothing.
Yeah.
And
it was, look, the 5th of May, the release was disappointing. The fact that we got nothing at all, not even a written message from Sarah, was surprising. Okay, she might not have done it for Throne of Glass either, but ACOTAR is her biggest series, and Bloomsbury had done such a big build-up. You would have thought they would have at least thrown her an email or something and said, hey, Sarah, do you think you could just, could you just sign this? Could you just write something, just little? That'd be great. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Make sure they're good. We're going to collab you in,
Yeah. Unless, of course, as we said, she's currently on an island with no cell phone reception writing this book. That is, of course, the exception that we're totally okay with. But we're just going to have to wait and see, because there's a lot of nothing right now. One thing that really scares me, this was one thought I had that kind of made me go, oh God, imagine. Because if Sarah had truly burnt out, right, theoretically, she's finished Throne of Glass. ACOTAR's in a pretty okay place, kind of closed off. Season 3, also relatively closed off. She could just finish here. If you were kind of going to be like, I'm sorry, guys, mentally I can't do this anymore, I'm out.
Well, but she's under contract for a whole new series with Bloomsbury.
Yes.
And a 4th CC book. So, maybe the legal battle is she's trying to get out of it because she's burned out and she's done. Who knows? It could be literally, who knows?
I would die. I'd be like, please no, Sarah. Please just half a page a day. Just tap it out little bit by little bit.
I just
baby steps.
Take a 5-year break until my kids are in school and I don't have mom brain anymore. And that's completely fair.
Yeah. But look, anyway, there's lots of reasons we can theorize all day long, but the truth is we're just going to have to wait. Unfortunately, there's no date at this stage, no idea about when we're going to get more information. We're just going to have to wait and see, but you guys are going to have to share if you think there is any accuracy. Why do you think Sarah left that particular quote? Do you think it has to do with ACOTAR 5? Do you think it might have a deeper meaning that, we need to try and figure out? Do you feel what are your thoughts around Sarah's radio silence over this release? Do you think that's just because she doesn't really get involved with 10-year anniversaries, or is there a little bit of something more? You'll have to add it in the comments and let us know.
What did you think of the Bloomsbury video? Did you love it? Maybe you loved it. And I
don't think anyone loved that.
I don't think so either. Oh, all right. Well, thank you all so much for listening to our emergency episode. As always, we hope you rate, review, and subscribe. It helps other listeners find the podcast. Follow us on our social media, the Romantic Readers Podcast, Book Loveaholic, and Alley Cats and Books. And we will talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.